Your driving record shows your license is actually revoked. You have several previous charges of driving with a suspended license. There's an open warrant for your arrest. So do you have a valid license now?
Not currently. I live in Indiana. They want me to prove that I never had a license in my time I lived in Georgia.
Drives around with raw chicken.
I work for Popeyes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Starting with Ms. Thrasher, whose license was revoked for 20 years over DUIs, now facing a new suspension charge and an open Walmart theft warrant. Let's see how the judge handles this.
Good morning. Are you Renee Lynn Thrasher?
Yes.
Of course, I know you, but I have to identify you for the record. The file number is 25889OT. OT stands for Ordinance Traffic. This ticket was written under Constantine Village Ordinance. Driving suspended used to be our most common offense. It may have been overtaken by driving without insurance. They can run your plate now and see whether you have insurance or not. That didn't used to be the thing. Anyway, let's take a look at your ticket, Ms. Thrasher. Allegation is that on May 9th that you were driving without a valid license, disobeyed a traffic control device, and had no proof of insurance. Those are all written under this ticket. You got a warning for the other two. So I guess all you got was driving suspended. Driving suspended is a misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to 93 days in jail and a fine of up to $500. Your driving record shows your license is actually revoked, which is different than suspended, but the same charge. You have several previous charges of driving with a suspended license. They didn't charge you with driving as a second offense, just this first one. Of course, I knew you as an original name, Renee Britton. Mr. Bush, would you stick around for a minute? Would you like to talk to Ms. Thrasher at a pretrial, or is there any offer here?
How long has she been suspended?
Since a while. This is some real old baggage of drinking driving charges. Her last driving suspended charge was 6 years ago. As I said, I knew her basically since she was in high school. But in 2009, she had an impaired, and in 2007. And she also refused implied consent. So since 2009, her license has been revoked. As far as I can tell, she didn't get any tickets except the one in 2020 for driving suspended. So she's been revoked for almost 20 years.
Has a possibility of getting a license.
She's going to have to go through the driver license appeal division, which is very difficult.
I would offer to resolve this with the lower one.
No operator's license?
Yeah, which basically I don't think carries an automatic suspension.
It does not. So, Ms. Thrasher, this charge, driving suspended, requires that you be further suspended. Your license is revoked for some very old drinking driving charges when you were much younger. And in order to get it back, you have to go through the driver license appeal division. And that's very difficult and can also be expensive. Mr. Bush has offered to reduce the charge to one called driving with no valid operator's license, sometimes known as no ops. No operator's license is a misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to 90 days in jail and a fine of up to $100. Carries 2 points, but it does not require a suspension. I'm not going to put you in jail. I'm going to give you a fine and give you some time to pay it. You understand?
Yes.
Are you willing to plead to that lesser charge of no valid operator's license? Yes. I don't have an advice of rights from you, so let me tell everybody. You have it with you? Okay. Oh, yeah, I locked it. Thank you. Customers here. Thank you, Mr. Bush. Ms. Thrasher, did anybody threaten you to get you to plead to this charge?
No.
Or promise you anything?
No.
Were you driving in Constantine on that day, May 9th?
Yes.
Where were you going?
I went a mile up the road to the gas station.
Whose car were you driving?
Mine.
Well, you don't need a car because you don't
Yeah,
have
it's
a
up for
license.
sale.
When you get revoked, it can be very discouraging because it's very difficult to get your license back and people just give up.
Mhm.
Now, we used to have driver responsibility fees, which were horrible. And people would end up owing thousands. And if you got a driving suspended, the judge could fine you $5. The driver responsibility was $500 a year for 2 years plus a $125 reinstatement fee. So you got a $5 fine from the judge, which you can't find that low, but for the sake of this argument, and then you owed $1,125 to the state where you could get your license back. And everybody and their brother was suspended. This is a Village of Constantine case. I'm gonna do a $75 fine, $75 crime victims' rights fee, and a $50 state minimum fee. That's $200. That is due June 30th. Can you pay it by then?
Yes.
Now, we've got further complications, Mr. Asher. There's an open warrant for your arrest.
Yeah. And
Take a look at that.
I'm going to take care of that after I leave here.
No, you're going to jail from here. I did a walk-in arraignment yesterday on a young man, and the prosecutor, Mr. Gabriel, was very upset. And he probably was justified. I did it without any no, it was just here. I just looked up and there he was. Mr. Stick, no, he wasn't here either. The public defender wasn't here. I tried to find his lawyer. So I just set the thing for Tuesday, but there was a warrant for him that I had issued. And he was very upset. So I'm just going to have you taken into custody. You should have been arrested at the time of this, but the officer didn't arrest you. Let me
How
tell
much
you
is
what.
the bond? Do you know?
What?
How much
What
is
is
the
bond
bond?
makes?
There, I'll tell you in a minute. Normally, probably in a different circumstance, I would have just done it. I know you. I've known you, and you're not a flight risk.
No.
But I'm going to be doing the jail arraignments a little later, so I'll probably see you later. As I said, you probably should have been arrested, but no. The allegation is that on December 13th of 2024, you did a underring at Walmart, and that you had previous convictions. They issued the warrant in March of 2025. So when you got this ticket in May, the officer should have arrested you, but he didn't. Did he tell you you had an open warrant?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
he didn't do anything about it?
I had complications.
All right, well, you're gonna be taken to jail and booked on that open warrant and file 2548 SM. I will be doing the jail arraignments sometime today, and I'll do yours at the same time.
Your Honor, if I may, so under some of the new revised court rules, there is a rule, and I was trying to pull it up here, that does say if somebody presents themselves to the court, that the assumption would be a PR bond. I'm not exactly sure.
There is yesterday, in fact, the case at point was Mr. Karan Fuller. And he was a felon, and he's got all kinds of issues. He's also someone that's local. So he didn't abscond. He's just got so many cases, he doesn't remember when he's supposed to be here. He was here 2 days before he was supposed to be here for the prelim and paid on his court fines. And his girlfriend called to figure out what his court dates were, which he should have known. He was told right here, but he didn't show up. So he issued a bench warrant, no bond. Then he called his lawyer, and I believe Mr. Truckee told him to turn himself in at the jail, but he actually just showed up here at the court. So I set his hearing for next Tuesday with Mr. Truckee and recalled the bench warrant. And they were very upset about it. He's got multiple cases pending, and so if you can find it, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I would ask for a moment, because the rule, and we addressed it briefly in another case, but it does say if somebody presents themselves.
Well, I'm aware of that rule, and so, which is why I proceeded accordingly. The legislature's theory is that PR bonds should be granted liberally, and the preference is for a PR bond. The actual case, he's accused of, I think, possessing a shotgun shell. So it was not that compelling, but anyway, he felt very strongly about it and came to tell me his thoughts on the matter.
I'm pulling it up now. I believe it's 6.105, Your Honor.
All right. Which was the same rule that applied to Mr.
Can you tell me when that original warrant issued?
This warrant,
Yes, Your Honor.
it looks like March 5th.
So Rule 6.105 under voluntary appearance, it says, in general, if the defendant wanted on a bench or arrest warrant voluntarily presents himself or herself to the court that issued the warrant within 1 year of the warrant issue, the court must either arraign the defendant if the court is available to do so within 2 hours of the defendant presenting himself or herself to the court, or recall the warrant and schedule the case for future appearance. It is presumed that the defendant is not a flight risk when the court sets bond or other conditions of release at an arraignment under this rule. This rule does not apply. The exceptions are assaultive crimes with domestic violence.
All right, thank you. That's very helpful. And in a general sense, I'm aware of that court rule, which is why I did what I did yesterday. There's a presumption that if they present themselves at the court, they get a PR bond. So, Ms. Thrasher, I didn't really want to take you into custody very much. I am disappointed that you didn't deal with this after the officer told you back in March that you had an open warrant for your arrest.
I didn't know in March. I found out when,
Yeah, on May
April.
9th. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you found out on May 9th. And it's a $30 self-scan. Problem is you had priors. So let's do that while you're here. And rule point 601 presumes, I didn't get a chance to say anything further to Mr. Gabriel. He just stormed out. But yeah, there's a presumption that if they're here, the warrant gets recalled. And we'll see, hopefully Mr. Frill will show up on Tuesday. I don't write the rules. All right, Mr. Asher, let's arraign you on this retail fraud charge. Allegation is that on December 31st of 2024 at the Walmart store in Three Rivers that you underrang some merchandise, prior retail fraud. That makes it a misdemeanor, punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. I had my file out. Were you gonna say anything about it? You just walked out of here and had this open warrant out for your arrest. Anyway, I saw it and I asked her to pull it up so I could deal with it. I'm gonna show you're gonna plead not guilty and I'll get an attorney to help you with this, okay?
yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stickley, for your help. She is gonna need to get fingerprinted. Plead not guilty,
Not guilty.
set attorney pretrial for, I'm not even sure when they are, July 11th. So the officer did tell you in May that you had this warrant?
Yes,
Well, good for him. And he figured you'd take care of it and then you didn't. But another officer would have taken you into custody and, yes, July 11th.
my birthday.
All right, you're gonna need to get fingerprinted. The clerks will give you a notice. You must set bond at $250 PR. Even though you didn't take care of it, you're not a flight risk. You've lived here all your life. And it ain't exactly the crime of the century. So I need to give you an envelope regarding the fine in the other case. Show $200 by June 30th. All right, I'll give both files to the court officer. She'll take you out, you'll get fingerprinted, and they'll give you a bond form to sign, and they'll tell you to be back here on July 11th at 8:30.
Okay,
Okay? All right, you're good to go.
thank you.
Now we have Mr. Crammel facing his second driving suspension charge, along with no insurance, insisting that he has to drive for work with or without insurance. The judge's response, let's find out.
Good morning, Mr. Crandall. You have two files here. File 25791ST alleges you're driving suspended second offense and no insurance. Those are both misdemeanors punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. You're very frustrated because you believe you need to drive. So that was May 25th. Your driver's license is suspended and you're driving around with no insurance. So you like that so much, you did it again on May 13th. You're charged with driving with no insurance and the driving suspended in file 25904 and 905. Let's take a look at your driver's. The district judge does not have authority to grant somebody driving privileges. Circuit court used to, but that's very limited. Mostly it's all done through the driver license appeal division. Your driver's license is suspended. It has been since 2023. You've got several problems. You got a ticket in Kalamazoo that you failed to pay. no insurance. Even back in 23, you're driving around with no insurance. Driving suspended, 2018, Kalamazoo County. Driving suspended, 2016, Kalamazoo County. It looks like it started out by you getting some tickets and not paying them. Then you got on what I call the driving suspended merry-go-round, and it's hard to get off of it. If you don't have, yes, what do you got there?
My wife,
All right,
I tried giving it to her. That's the time when she died.
this is your wife's death certificate?
Yes, it is. And I'm a widower.
She died in 2015.
Yes. Of liver failure and heart failure. And I'm gonna live alone. Middleton, thank you.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss, but it doesn't give you the right to drive around, no driver's license and no insurance.
I have insurance now here if you wish to see it.
I
have it now in front.
How could you get insurance if you don't have a license? Mr. Stickley, I think Mr. Crandall could use some legal help here.
Probably not a bad idea, Your Honor. I would agree.
What do you mean legal help?
Well, an attorney.
I'm gonna appoint a lawyer for you.
I don't want a lawyer. I just want to,
Well, would you like to go to jail? I could
No.
arrange that. You can't drive. Your driver's license is suspended twice. You're driving with no insurance on your car in April. You drive again in May, doing the exact same thing. Driving with no driver's license and no insurance. Now, you may have some defenses you wish to raise, which is why I think you could benefit from having an attorney to help you. That's $150 for your attorney fee, which is much less than the actual cost. Where do you work, Mr. Crandall?
I work at a Wendy's.
In Three Rivers?
No, it's somewhere else.
Well, it's a long way. What other town is it in?
Kalamazoo.
Oh boy, that's a long way back and forth from Three Rivers. You could get to Wendy's in Three Rivers by riding a bike, or I can't fix it. Your license is suspended. Now, one of the things you could do is pay off your ticket in Kalamazoo County. That might help your circumstance. I had a young woman you saw her a bit ago. She had 2 old drunk driving convictions, and that revoked her license 20 years ago. You don't have any of that. You've just got some unpaid tickets, and then you kept driving. And since 2016, you've been suspended. You at least might have a window to try to get your license back if you paid off your tickets and applied to the Secretary of State. So I think you could benefit from having a lawyer to help you with this. As Mr. Stickley said, it's better than the alternatives. Did he get printed?
Yes.
Okay. So what would you like to do, Mr. Crandall? You got 2 separate cases, both punishable by up to a year in jail. Further suspension of your license. Driving without insurance carries a minimum fine of $200 plus costs. So I really think you could benefit from having a lawyer to help you. You didn't drive here, but I can't fix it. You can't drive from your house to Kalamazoo to work, not legally. And my fear is you're going to get pulled over again before we even get this resolved. You at least have a chance to try to get your license back. You need to start by paying off your Kalamazoo County unpaid ticket. That's from 2024 or 23. Then you need to go to the Secretary of State and say, what do I need to do to get my license back? You don't have any drunk driving charges.
I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and I don't smoke.
Yeah, so you got all that in your favor. Let's see who's in our waiting room. So are you willing to have me appoint a lawyer for you?
No, but I'll take it anyway.
All
I don't have
right, I
much
think-
choice. I'll take the lawyer.
All right, I'll show a plea of not guilty on all charges.
Let me ask you this.
Okay?
I don't know how to ask this. If I plead not guilty, then I get a lawyer, right?
Yes,
If I say plead guilty, then what?
I still think you need a lawyer. If you plead guilty, the minimum you're gonna get is about $1,000 worth of fines. There's multiple charges. There's 2 charges of the same thing. The driving with no insurance carries a minimum fine of $200 plus $125
All
of
right,
cost.
so I'm going to have to be back here a second time, I
Yes,
assume.
yes.
And what's going to happen now? I understand where I'm at now, but for a second time,
All
what's
right, well,
going to happen?
let's assume for the sake of argument that you meet with a lawyer, you pay off your Kalamazoo fine, you find out that you're eligible to get your license back. The lawyer can negotiate something with the prosecutor that could dismiss some of the charges, reduce them to civil infractions, or alternative dispositions. But you're not giving anything up. If that doesn't work, you can have 2 trials, one for each set of facts. You're not guilty of anything until you either plead guilty or you're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But you are between the proverbial rock and the hard place. You don't have a license. You want a license to get back and forth to work. I can't give you a license. You've been driving around with no insurance as far back as 2018. I'm not sure how you got insurance if you don't have a valid driver's license. But it's complicated. It could be expensive and you could go to jail. So that's why I think you need a lawyer to help you with this. I'm going to
Will
say,
he clear me of all this, or after we have this meeting again for a second time, am I gonna be able to get cleared if I can get my license?
it would certainly help. I don't know the answer to that. That'll be up to the prosecutor.
And he's out right now. Or should I talk to him today?
You need a lawyer to help you with this. Now, this isn't as simple as you think it is. I can't wave that magic wand and give you a license. You got a lot of hard work to do. You got to go to Kalamazoo and find out how much your unpaid fine is. You got to go to the Secretary of State, which is very difficult. You have to wait your turn. You don't
That
understand.
I'm aware of. I'm aware of the waiting period.
Okay,
at
and
the
then
Secretary of
you
State.
say, all right, what do I need to do to get my license back? When am I eligible for it? And so this isn't going to happen without some hard work being done. But in the meantime, you can't drive anymore. And my suspicion is you're going to drive to work tomorrow. You're going to get pulled over again. And then that won't be very good. But so 2 pieces of advice. They're going to give you this information with your lawyer's name and number on it. I want you to call that lawyer and make an appointment to discuss it with them. And I'll see you on July 11th at 8:30. In the meantime, it would be time for you to pay your Kalamazoo fine and find out from the Secretary of State what you need to do to get your
Can you put
license.
the number of the Secretary of State on that paperwork?
I don't know it. I don't know which Secretary of State office you're going to go to. There are several in Kalamazoo. There's one on Romance Road. There's one on Drake Road. The only one here in St. Joseph County is in Sturgis. And so you can look it up online, but it depends on which one you're going to go to. All right. You're good to go.
And now this one centers on Mr. Corey, caught in an insurance paperwork dispute, claiming he was covered all along but unable to prove it during his traffic stop.
Ernest Corey?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, finally, we're going to get to our no insurance cases. Mr. Corey, you're charged with no insurance under the insurance code. I'll tell everybody, no insurance is a misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to a year in jail. Carries a minimum fine of $200 plus $125 of state costs and a maximum fine of $500. You didn't show up at your earlier hearing and Judge Addison issued a bench warrant. But I guess they rescheduled this. Do you have insurance now?
Yes, sir.
You have it with you? And that is from
I got the same day I got the ticket, the insurance.
Wayland and Company. Can't tell. Who's your insurance carrier?
I can't remember where I got it.
All right, very good. Got it next day.
But,
All right, that's on a Trailblazer.
mhm.
All right, have a seat, sir. I'm going to have Mr. Stickley go talk to the prosecutor when we finish all these. Let me tell everyone the same thing. This is a heavy-duty charge. It carries up to a year in jail. There's a lesser charge known as no proof of insurance, which is a civil infraction. It's not even a crime. And very often, in fact, usually when the people come in and have valid insurance, they'll reduce it to the lesser charge of no proof of insurance. So Mr. Stickley's going to go see the prosecutor here in a minute. So, Mr. Featherstone, let's talk to you. Good morning, sir. You're Ricky Dale Featherstone?
Yes, sir. When he pulled me over, this happened. Things aren't perfect. And then I have insurance and coverage the whole time.
Same thing for you, Mr. Featherstone. You have insurance now?
Sir, I had insurance the whole time.
He tried to, it appears that he maybe, well, we can deal with it.
It says things weren't perfect, so I took a screenshot of it
But then I show you the next day when it did let me log on to Progressive finally, that there's no lapse in coverage. I've
All
had
right, well, then
insurance
you
the
may
whole
have
time.
an absolute defense.
But
One
here's
is-
my thing, sir, is I'm getting a half a point right now and losing out at like $200 for being here. So I can't afford to like plead not guilty and come back. I
Well, all right,
gotta
well,
resolve it.
he's gonna share with the prosecutor. Maybe they'll dismiss it if you can establish that you were insured.
Yeah, I was
But
insured,
even
but
though, if you couldn't provide proof, then it could be the civil infraction of no proof of insurance. But they run your driver plate, and why did they pull you over? Do you know?
he said I had no insurance.
All right, they'll
So
run
I
your
pulled
plate.
it up and I had also contacted Progressive with the cop right there in front of me, and Progressive was having a difficulty that day. That's why it wasn't showing no
All
insurance.
right, well, that may be an absolute defense. So let's see. The other charge, no proof of insurance, isn't that you didn't have insurance, you just couldn't prove it to the cop. And that carries a $150 fine, but it's a civil infraction. And I know guys are missing work when they come to court. We used to do a lot of this virtually, but now we're doing live court.
My thing is, sir, if I ain't back by 11, I'm going to point out.
I'll get you back there by 11, so just have a seat.
Finally, we have Ms. Sachs stuck with licensing issues as the court waits for her to untangle DMV red tape. Let's see how the judge handles this.
Are you Victoria Melanie Sachs?
Yes, sir.
You got a ticket on May 5th for driving without a valid license.
Yes, sir.
You got a ticket for being driving suspended. You got unsuspended. We set a hearing for May 15th. They didn't show up. Thought
I
it was
had
Zoom,
told to reschedule, sir.
and they rescheduled. So do you have a valid license now?
Not currently. I live in Indiana. They want me to prove that I never had a license in my time I lived in Georgia. And then I have to take the written, and then in 6 months I can take the physical.
They also give you a ticket for defective equipment, and that's the kind of thing they can simply waive.
It might be beneficial in this case, Your Honor. She could have just a little bit of time.
US and Schimmel Road. We had a lot of stuff out at Schimmel Road. You were just a little bit away from where Mr. Jose was walking home. Too bad it wasn't at the same time. You could have given him a lift.
Well, I had a bunch of raw chicken in my trunk at the time.
And you wouldn't have been there at 4 o'clock in the morning.
No.
It just shows you have nothing
Yes.
from anywhere.
Mhm.
So you did have a Georgia license at one time?
No, sir. I only had an ID in Georgia. They want me to prove that I never had a license in Georgia. Don't
Proving a
understand.
negative. It was in Indiana, never had license.
Yeah.
Drives around with raw chicken.
I work for Popeyes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I was taking chicken from the Sturgis store to the Elkhart store.
Well, you can't drive. I'm not sure, and you live in Indiana,
Yes,
so
sir.
I don't understand the Indiana rules. So what do you suggest, Mr. Stickley, we adjourn this a month or so?
Yeah, she's actively working on it, Your Honor. So I think 4 weeks would be extremely beneficial. She might be able to get it all wrapped up by then.
All right, 4 weeks from now would be June 25th. That's a Thursday. Then I want you to find out what you need to do, or at least start the process. You don't have any baggage on there, like the one young lady had 2 old drunk driving charges. You just don't have a license. How old are you?
26, sir. I just turned 26.
Our goal, and the prosecutor's goal, is to help people get their license back. I think that's their goal. It makes less work for everybody. Earn license information. All right, Ms. Sachs, and somebody did drive you here today.
Yes.
You didn't drive here. So I don't know how you're gonna get to work from Elkhart to Sturgis.
Oh, I don't work in Sturgis. I work in Goshen, Indiana.
All right,
So it's a little easier to figure out Ubers.
all right. Well, don't get any more baggage on here. It'll make it harder for you to get your license. Right now, it's unencumbered. This conviction doesn't show up.
Okay.
If it does, it's gonna make you wait at least a year before you can get your license. Shows a moving violation without a license. And the defective equipment, they can just make that go away. What was that?
Headlight.
No,
I got it replaced the next day.
replaced headlight.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Sachs, we'll take a look at this on June 25th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.